Hey, welcome to Jazz After Dark, everybody. Happy night to you. This is a show, of course, for those of you that want to hang out a little bit. You don't want to go so fast. You want to dive into the details a little bit and, not the quick hitting videos that we normally do. Tonight, we'll be drinking Akashi. It's a blended Japanese whiskey. I've actually already sampled it. Very apricot, very honey, very caramel, right? It's okay. I'm not a fan. It's letter C on my little list here, and I would give it a C. I like Japanese whiskey. This one, it's just not 100% for me. Also, I don't know if it matters, but Flaviar was slacking a little bit. My little bottle wasn't filled up all the way. Just say it. It's what it is. All right, let's dive into this. You're getting a late start to retirement. All right, this happens. And I always tell clients that I work with, I say, make it my stress. Whatever it is that you want to do, lay it all on me and make me have to come back to you and go, I've tried to think of everything, but here's some of the things I need you to give on, right? And the reason I say that is because an advisor should be pulling from everything that they have in their head, every option. It may be that I tell you, fill up your HSA, then reimburse yourself, then fill it back up, then reimburse yourself. There could be all kinds of things that we do. And some of them may sound wildly out of the box. I'm going to give you a scenario here tonight. And this is based on an actual client who took me up on my offer and said, I'm late to retirement. I'm almost 50 years old and I don't have a lot saved. I make good money, but I feel like I'm screwed, for lack of better words there. So we're going to dive into it. I've got a few things here. Some are kind of obvious. Some are way outside the box and maybe require a little bit of extra work on their part. All right, so let's get started. We're going to call them Louis. This is Louis Armstrong. This is a married individual, and I'm going to go through where they stand. They're almost 50. They're going to retire at 64. They would like it to be earlier. They stressed that to me. We're going to plan for 25 years of retirement. That's basically a nice way of saying, at what age do you think you're going to die, right? So these guys thinking they're going to make it to 25? 89 years of age, which for him would be a lot, right? That's above the average. But nonetheless, we don't want to run out of money while we're alive. Between the two of them, they've got $110,000 saved. And let's see if I hit on a nerve here with anybody. These people, right now their salary is $190 combined, but they've always made a lot of money relative to their age. They were very young when they started making good money. And so they've kind of lived, right? But they didn't really save. And so, now they're starting to take it a little more seriously. So how many of you let that lifestyle creep hit you at the earlier ages there? All right. So current returns, we got a 7% there just to underestimate a little bit. They make $190 and they've committed to putting 10% right now in their 401k. Fun fact. The Louis, in this case, the husband, this is the first time he's had the ability to use a 401k and get any kind of a match. So that's probably part of the reason. So they put in 10%, or he's putting in 10%. He gets a 6% match. He's ecstatic about this because he's never had this opportunity before and to make good money. They're not saving anything else anywhere. They want to know what they should be doing. When they retire, they've thought about this. They know they can't live on the 190. Now, between the two of them, they're kind of, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to say their name, but, I'm picking on you a little bit here. They're kind of like the hippie nomad kind of people, where their idea of retirement is potentially in the middle of nowhere and living off the grid and things like that. They're really fascinated by that. So they said, well, look, 90,000 should do the trick. We're going to grow our own food. We're going to have our own little homestead. I'm sort of jealous about that. That's what they want to do. So we always put retirement returns at 5.5%, and that's not because you can't do more. It's because the risk that we're going to take, we expect to get smaller returns. We're not going to be just swinging for the fences. Can we do better? Of course, right? It's just a matter of maybe breaking things up. Now, because of their high income, they've checked their Social Security. Their expectations are for $41,000 a year. They're going to start that at age 60. Well, I put 64 just to bump it up. They're choosing to go a little early here. We're going with inflation-based raises on that, and then for the moment, we're going to say no other assets. Now, here's the problem. If I look at the optimal plan, and this is to get them going here, the optimal plan to make them run out of money when they die, here is where they stand with what we have existing. They're going to be just fine. All is good. Oh my God, we're running out of money and we're 76 years old. We're out of money. Now, keep in mind that what I'm showing you, this is like the data gathering piece that we use, right? This gets the conversation started. This is not what we would use for more of an official like financial plan. But it's been awesome to get people to just go, well, wait a minute, my match is different, or their Social Security is going to be a little bit odd, or they'll wait and take it later. All of that we get into. This is just to kind of get the ball rolling. Okay, so what I did is that in their real life scenario, I went over here and I said, I've got a few thoughts. There may not all be winners, but I'd like to talk to you about these thoughts. First one is, could we consider downsizing and what impact that would have? The reason I brought that up as the first one is because they talked about having the homestead, and I was like, what is that going to cost? Like, give me an idea. And so what we came up with is that they may have about $375,000 in equity that they would not put towards the new place from selling their existing home. That's all right. Well, let's see what that does. So now in yellow, we have a different scenario. We have the impact of that extra money and then the growth and, of course, withdrawal rate over time. That gets us into our early 80s right there, right? It's not great, but, it's getting there a little bit, right? So it's something to look at. I said, well, let's consider some variable spending in retirement. One of the problems with general software, or like we built, is we're going with a linear spending amount. 90,000, we got our 41, and we're going to raise it by inflation. Well, what if they are on the homestead and find out that their first couple years are more capital intensive, right? Building the cages for chickens and whatever that involves. I'm a Florida boy, I don't know. But that may require more money. But as they go, it's like, well, now we don't necessarily need to build all of that. And so our day-to-day is more like taking care of all of this, and money's not going out. We're sort of just manning the farm, so to speak. I don't know. So I said, well, let's consider that. There's a chance you may not spend $90,000. We may want to go a little bit deeper into what life looks like and pick and choose various years so that ultimately we don't end up with an average of $90,000 being spent a year, with inflation, of course. So that's a conversation piece. I said, well, maybe that's something we expand into. Now, going off the reservation a little bit, I said, well, how do you guys feel about covered calls? This is a different scenario. I know this is not for everybody. I just like to ask. And the concept here is we're going to use or try to maybe use a covered call strategy or some kind of alternative investment with part of the money that they have. They don't have a lot, so we're going to use part of it. And with that, we can boost the total returns on an average basis that maybe that gets them closer. And this is going to involve a little bit of education on their part. It's going to involve a little bit more action and understanding. So we said, well, hey, if you do downsize and we can boost your returns a little bit without being stupid here, without saying, let's go all in large caps and just hope for the best, right? I mean, that is a strategy. It just, to me, doesn't, I wouldn't do it if I were them. So we say, okay, now the blue line here, this is where we find, we're almost there. It's pretty good, actually. We're only short by about $7,500. We can live all but the last month and a half or so of their lives. So that may be worthwhile, either A, finding alternative investments for higher returns, or B, considering maybe some kind of covered call option so that our net return averages 7.5 instead of 5.5. Then after talking a little bit, and this is part of the joy of having a conversation with people, I just threw it out there and said, what happens if you're growing your own food, vegetables, you're making your own eggs and all that stuff? Could you consider a co-op? Would you have any other extra income? And they said, yeah, actually, that's kind of cool for us. We thought that if we're in the right area, we would like to do something like that. And I said, well, what if that means like just $10,000 extra a year? That's not a lot if you think about it. I said, well, now let's combine everything together and say, you're actually only going to be needing to draw 80 because you're going to have 10 from doing all the side work. I was like, you think about it. You could even have like your place set up and say, this is a training environment. People can pay $100, $200 or whatever to come by and learn how to set up a chicken coop or like, how to grow parsley or I don't know, right? I'm like, that's a thing. I know that's a thing. So is that interesting? They said, that's 100%. That's something we would love to do. We do want to assume that we will have income, but it'll probably be more than 10, but let's not plan more than 10. They said, okay, let's combine that with your Social Security, with your downsizing, and potentially a variable spending rate. And we're getting closer here. So now you notice this one's in red. So we're getting closer, right? So we've got a couple choices inside of here. And I want you to notice one thing. Not one time did I say, no, you can't retire at 64. No, it doesn't make any sense. No, I wasn't willing to give on that. Remember, an advisor's job is not to convince you to work the rest of your life. It's to just pitch a strategy. Hey, it doesn't work the way this stands right now, but would you consider doing this? Would you consider doing this? Would you consider layering some of the strategies? And to me, that's where we at Jazz Wealth start to add some value there, because maybe you never thought about it. Or like in this case, they just never thought to tell me that they would have extra income. So that conversation there is really, really important with whoever you're working with. I'm not trying to persuade you, but I mean, I kind of am. I'm going to be honest, right? So the bottom line is, what we can't do is just simply downsize, take our equity, and expect that to work for us, right? A lot of times that will work when somebody says, I've got equity in my house, I'm going to downsize, it's going to be great. Well, in this case, it doesn't work for them. We need to layer multiple strategies on top of each other to get them to their later part of life there, where we're now pushing our 90-year-old selves there. So if you're late to saving for retirement and you don't have a lot already saved up, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. Please don't just throw your hands in the air and say, I guess I'll just work forever, right? In this case, Louie, who I'm calling Louie in this case, their job is physically demanding and they're in good health now, but they're starting to think ahead a little bit, right? So I can't just say, oh, work later, go work at Walmart or something like that. What sort of like life is that if your dream is to have a homestead and to physically be out there and doing these things? I think that's kind of cool. So hope that helped. Don't give up. Right? If you're late to retirement, if you're working with an advisor, make them try. Just say, hey, this is what I want. What do you want me to do? And see what they have. There should be no sales pitch. There should be no insurance products. There should be nothing but strategies. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's layer all that together and make it work. So hopefully that helps you get thinking a little bit. If it does, and you decide you want to work with us, of course, jazzwealth.com. Happy to help you out there. We've got lots of great people here that can help and have lots of great ideas. Otherwise, I'll thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.